Imagine losing a war and then being forced to sign your own punishment while the entire world watches. On June 28, 1919, exactly 5 years after the assassination that started World War I, Germany was marched into the Palace of Versailles not to negotiate peace, but to accept humiliation. The First World War had ended. Over 20 million people were dead. Europe was in ruins. Empires had collapsed, and now the winners were about to decide the fate of the losers. In January 1919, 32 countries gathered in Paris for what would become one of the most important peace conferences in human history. Officially, it was meant to create lasting peace, but behind closed doors, it was about punishment. 3 men dominated everything, later known as the Big Three: David Lloyd George of Britain, Georges Clemenceau of France, Woodrow Wilson of the United States, and one nation was missing. Germany wasn't even invited. The country whose future was being decided had no seat at the table. From the very beginning, the leaders didn't agree. They all wanted peace, but their definitions of peace were completely different. Wilson, the American president, had a dream. He believed harsh punishment would only create anger and revenge. He feared that crushing Germany would plant the seeds for another war. Instead, he proposed his famous 14 points in a new organization called the League of Nations, meant to prevent future conflicts through cooperation. He wanted reconciliation, not revenge. But France had suffered differently. France had watched its cities burn, its farms destroyed, its people killed. German troops had marched across French soil for 4 long years. For Clemenceau, forgiveness wasn't an option. He wanted Germany broken. He demanded Alsace-Lorraine returned, the army dismantled, massive reparations paid, the Rhineland separated, and Germany weakened forever, so it could never threaten France again. To him, peace meant security through punishment. Then there was Britain. Lloyd George stood in the middle. Britain had lost millions of soldiers, but its homeland wasn't destroyed like France. He wanted Germany punished, yes, but not completely ruined, because a totally destroyed Germany couldn't trade, and Britain needed trade. So he walked a thin line between revenge and practicality. For months, the 3 men argued, negotiated, clashed, compromised. Every decision reshaped Europe's future. And finally, after months of tense debate, the treaty was finished. Then came the shocking part. Germany was called in, not to discuss, not to negotiate, not to defend itself, just to sign. When the German delegates saw the terms, they were horrified. They protested, they begged for changes. Their objections were ignored. They had no choice. On June 28, 1919, in the glittering Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, the same place where Germany had once celebrated victory over France decades earlier, 2 German delegates were forced to sign the treaty, under the eyes of the world. It wasn't just a peace agreement, it was a public humiliation. The treaty stripped Germany of land, its colonies, its army, its money, its pride. And worst of all, it forced Germany to accept full blame for the entire war. Many believed this would guarantee peace, but others warned, this wasn't peace, it was revenge. And revenge has consequences. Because the decisions made inside that palace would not end the conflict, they would quietly set the stage for something far worse, a second world war.